Hi, I'm Debra Corey. I am the co-author of the book Build It, a Rebel Playbook for World-Class Employee Engagement. And I'm here today in Redditch in the UK at Halfords head office. And I'm here with Jonathan Crookall, who is the People Director at Halfords. And we're here to talk about a play that is in the book. And I'm really excited about it. It's on the topic of leadership, which we all know is absolutely critical to engagement. And I'm going to quote you already, Jonathan. I love this quote, it's in the book, which is, "A store is like a family unit. If you don't get engagement right with the leader, you can feel the difference as soon as you walk in." And I've been in retail before, and I know exactly what you mean. You can tell when you have a strong leader and a strong management group. So we're going to talk a little bit about how and what you do at Halfords to create that. Great. So first, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about Halfords for people who don't know the organization.
Sure. So Halfords is best known as a retailer of automotive and cycling products. So we have around 460 stores in the UK and the Republic of Ireland. But as well, we've got a garage business. So we do servicing, after sales servicing of cars. And we've also bought recently a smaller business called Treads, which is an online cycling retailer. So we're in the business of satisfying customers for their needs, where it could be around automotive products or around cycling, and we're very big on the servicing aspect of that. So when people have bought the product, we want them to come back to us and talk to us some more about their lifetime needs for those services.
And I think that's really important, because of a lot of retailers, you sell them something and then they leave. But you are right, and I go to Halfords all the time. I told you I've got an electric bike from Halfords, which I love, and I go there with my car. And you're right, you have to have that service, and your employees are the service.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I mean, really the thing that makes us very different from a lot of our online competitors is we provide that service and that knowledge and expertise to our customers when they come through the door.
Great. So we're going to focus on the leadership side. I know there's lots of great things that you do on engagement in general. And the thing that we talk about in the book is this novel approach with this leadership model. So maybe you can talk a little bit about why you decided to create this in the first place.
Sure. So I think what follows from thinking about service being so important to us is really, who delivers that service? Well, it's the colleagues who work for us in those stores and in those garages, actually. And so what we figured out was that what we really need is for the environment for those colleagues to be right. And who creates the environment for those leaders? Well, for those colleagues, well, it's our leaders. So we focus very strongly on engagement, and it's the leader in a particular store, as you've just mentioned, who really sets the tone and sets the environment that colleagues work in. So and the reason that we know that service-related sales is our growth area. It's the big, huge potential for us going forward.
People coming back time and time again.
Absolutely, and so that is embodied through the colleagues that you meet when you go into store. Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about this model. I think you call it the Big Four.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, so we worked with an outfit called Positive Reframe to create this model. So very grateful to them. And basically, it features the Big Four, as you call them. And so and it starts with clarity. So we need everybody to be clear about what the organisation's about, but equally what their role in what their part in the organisation is. Secondly, we talk about strengths. So it's really important that people are playing to their strengths on a daily basis. So when you come to work, you're doing the things that you're really good at. So quite often we find when we start to talk to store managers about this, that they'll find, well, actually this particular colleague is great at this stuff, so why don't we switch them into a different role where they're really, their gifting is brought to life. The next one is praise and recognition. So again, we spend a lot of our time encouraging people to do the right thing, and we go around the organisation looking for people doing things well rather than focusing on the things that they're not doing so well. So praise and recognition. And then finally, and I think this is probably our sort of magic secret ingredient, if you like, we talk about
your secret sauce, like
absolutely, absolutely. We talk about genuine concern, and what we mean by that is, do I actually know the people who work for me and with me? Do I really know them? Because if I understand what drives them and what's going on in their world, so what's their partner's name, what do their kids do, what do they do when they're not at work, then we've got a deeper relationship, and that genuine concern gets played out in all sorts of ways. So if I've got a team or a bunch of colleagues who I can really show that genuine concern for, then the likelihood is they're going to be more committed to us as an organisation.
And it's interesting because if you think about the new world of work and the new way that we expect our leaders to lead, I agree with you completely. You need to have that compassion. You need to have that concern, and it's less about that just dictating what people should do. So it's nice that it's built into your model.
Mm-hmm.
What type of changes have you seen since you've rolled out the Big Four at the organization?
Sure. So, our sort of base level of understanding of what happens is through our engagement survey. So one of the things that we do is, we ask a typical sort of 37 questions every year of all of our colleagues. And by the way, we get about 95% of them participating in that survey.
Wow, well done. That's
so
great.
it's something that people really engage with, if you'll pardon the pun. One of the things that we look at there is we look for direct feedback on leadership style. Mm-hmm. So every leader in every store will have a score that combines each of the aspects of the Big Four. And gives them a sense of where are they and how are they doing against those. And obviously we also correlate that with a number of other things. So we correlate that with engagement, we also look at our customer data, and we also look at our sales and financial data. And the great news is, and this is why it's probably worth featuring in your book, we've seen all those metrics moving in a positive direction as we've rolled this approach to leadership out across the business. And you can see as well, back to my quote from earlier, you can see when you go into a store where we're getting it right with that leader and that model is playing out. We can see the benefit of that just in the atmosphere when you walk into the place, but also in the results that flow, whether that's NPS data and other customer scores, or whether that's returning customers, whether that's top line sales or bottom line profitability.
And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to feature the play, as you said,
Sure.
Because a lot of times I've worked in organizations before, and you try to convince your leadership team that you need to focus on leadership and you need to spend the time and energy on leadership. But the fact that you've got the data behind it
Sure.
to show, I think for anyone who's having challenges convincing, read this play, talk to Jonathan. It does make a difference. And
Yeah.
I know I was in retail for many, many years, and I've seen that as well, that you can definitely see that strong correlation.
And the other, sorry to interrupt, but the other great thing, because we are a retail-based business, our store managers and colleagues generally love a number.
Yes, they do.
So because we've got the data and we've got the numbers around this stuff, so I'll go into a store on a store visit, and in the back shop, in the colleague room, there'll be a board on the wall that's got their data for engagement and leadership, and you can see, the good ones, of course, will go, "Hey, Jonathan, take a look at my scores." The ones who may be on the curve still will go in and say, "Okay, well, let's have a look at where you are and what are you doing about it." So it becomes very actionable as well as so it gives a great focus for people to get after.
And it's great that it's talked about. It's not just we look at the number once a year and then we just ignore it. I mean, what do you do in situations where you might find that there is a leader who might be struggling, or the number might be low as an organization? What do you do to support them?
So quite often, maybe a new leader or someone who's moved to a new store, quite often the situation is maybe they weren't aware of it. So that first piece of understanding and getting that data is really important, and frankly it's just classic coaching, working with that leader, that manager, to understand what the data is telling them, and we have a bit of a drumbeat of sort of quarterly review of engagement and leadership. So each of the teams will sit with their own team and work through, okay, so what are we going to do about it? And it's very clear, visible, actionable stuff that generally happens. We try and use the model itself to work with those leaders and managers. So we work out what their strengths are, and we follow it with the praise and recognition as to what are they doing to try and fix it. Occasionally you get a situation where somebody doesn't make it, and they're not maybe built for leading that particular team at that particular time. The great news is, because we've got so many different roles within the structure, it's easy to accommodate them doing something else. So we'll see people self-select out of leadership roles, and then very, very occasionally, obviously, we have to take people out of those roles as well.
But I think staying on top of it and constantly evaluating it, and to your point you said earlier about playing to people's strengths. So is this the right job for them? Is this the right role? Instead of 2 years later, ooh, maybe we should have moved that person out. So I think it works well. The other thing I like about the model also is in the book we have a 10 elements of the engagement bridge, and what you've done in the leadership model itself is bring different elements in.
Sure.
So even your leadership model is not one dimensional, and I think that's really good how it is more integrated with other areas that you expect a leader to get involved with. Perfect. So if anybody is thinking of doing something like this, first of all, what we talk about all the time is don't just go take the 4 aspects of your big 4, create it in your own way. But if they're doing it, what kinds of tips or advice have you learned by doing this that you could suggest to people?
Sure. I mean, a lot of the background to the big 4 for us, it comes out of a lot of the sort of traditional thinking around what makes great leaders. So we looked at, there's a great thinker called Beverly Alamo Metcalf who wrote a load of work about followership, and that's partly where the genuine concern piece comes out. So actually doing a bit of background on where this thinking comes from, I think is really important. And there's plenty of literature out there to go and check out. But I think what you're hinting at is you've got to make it work for your organisation. So for us, the key thing is that the service that we provide to customers, it gets delivered through our colleagues. So the engagement of those colleagues is really important, and then what flows from that is the leadership model that works in a Halfords context. So I do think you've got to work through the logic behind it, and how you get there, but also do something that's really appropriate to your organisation. And the only other tip that I would have is, keep it simple. If we could boil it down to a big 3, I'd be even happier. But the fact that it's 4, and pretty much every single one of our leaders, managers would be able to tell you what those big 4 are. And they know that it's in the currency, it's in the language of day-to-day running of Halfords, which is so I think those would be my top tips, really.
I think that's really smart, because if you keep it simple, people can remember it, and if you talk about it all the time, people can remember it. Because even if you have 3 and nobody talks about it, they're not going to remember it. So again, it goes back to what we talked about before. It's well integrated into the business, and it's making a difference. And you told me when we were starting before that you've got a new boss coming in. What was their reaction to this new model?
Yeah, so Graham Stapleton, the new chief exec, starts on Monday, this coming Monday. So and we've already talked about the leadership model here. He was really interested in what are we doing in this area. Which is a big tick to start with.
You want a leader who supports that. So
absolutely,
yes.
And so in taking Graham through that in his sort of pre-induction, the thing that he said to me, he felt really stood out and was very compatible to the culture we have and the business objectives that we've got here, was the aspect of genuine concern. So I think a lot of organisations will talk about, well, are we being clear? Do we have clarity? Quite a few will talk about strengths now, because that's, again, in the literature and in people's thinking. And again, there's been a lot written about recognition and praise. But I think genuine concern is, it almost feels, oh, that's not hardcore enough. Why would I want to show genuine concern to the people that I work with? But I think, so he noticed that and said, oh, that's really interesting. And I can see how that would support the types of things that we're trying to do in terms of really looking after customers on their life's journeys. So.
And I think that's what makes it unique also, because the fact that you build it into your model. I mean, we should all be having genuine concern. So if anyone was creating a model, I would hope that they would have it. But the fact that it's there means that it is top of mind and it is a focus. And as a customer, I love that you have it. And again, I've been into many of your stores and I've felt it. Somebody who had to walk me around and try to find a bike that fits someone who's 5 feet tall. I mean, I think he spent an hour with me trying to help me. And that truly was genuine concern.
Great,
He was going to find a bike.
Yeah.
He did not want me to leave feeling like I was this short person who couldn't find a bike. So, yeah, it does make a difference, definitely.
I'm pleased to hear that.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for that. I enjoyed speaking to you when we did the play and the book, and I've even learned more today. Even a new book I'm going to go out and read. So I'll make sure that we put that in our notes so other people who are interested in that book. And I guess in ending, really my advice to everybody, whether you're working on leadership or any other area of the bridge, is just to go out there and don't be afraid to be a rebel. Just go be a rebel and make it your own, and all the best. And if you want to read more about any of the plays, or we've got lots of other video interviews, just go to rebelplaybook.com. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Deborah.